Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Good morning, good morning, good Chol Hamoed morning. My name is Andrea Simantov, and you are listening to Pull Up a Chair on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. And like they used to say in Romper Room, good morning, good morning. Listening in from the U.S. and from Israel, Boker Tov Eretz Israel, Canada, it's late. The U.K., Australia's listening in this morning, Germany, Spain, Switzerland, and what a nice surprise. We have listeners in this morning from Indonesia. We are still in the midst of Chol Hamoed, the intermediate days between Sukkot and Simchas Torah. Very important days on the calendar. If you are just exploring Judaism, new to it, these are not minor holidays just because it didn't play a major role in your upbringing and just because it doesn't get big press in the Washington Post, the Washington something. Let's see. This morning I had very good news. My phone refused to allow me in to the vice presidential debate happening in the United States. And I thought, thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, maybe a little noisy in the studio this morning because I just couldn't bear the air conditioner any longer. And I had the engineer open the window, so you're going to get the real Israel cars zipping up the street. We may actually hear some garbage trucks. And hey, my world is your world. My life is yours. Today, we are going to talk a little bit more about Simchas Torah, about Shemini Atzeret. What is this? And the fresh canvas that lies before us. People, it's not business as usual. It is not, these are days for deep self-reflection, deep looking into what's coming out of our mouths, what's going into our mouths, what's coming out of our hearts. How is this year going to be different? Is COVID going to be the only narrative of who we are? Or can we put it aside, put it in our hip pockets for just a few moments and recreate the world, start the Torah from anew within ourselves? Andrea Simantov, I'll see you on the other side.
Israel is located in one of the most volatile areas in the world. Israel is an island of stability in a sea of war and unrest. In the midst of this turmoil, Israel stands out as a beacon of order and human progress. Each week we update you on what's happening in this, the Jewish state, a true light unto the nations. This is Jay Shapiro. Join me every Thursday on Israel News Talk Radio.
And we're back. Andrea Simantov, pull up a chair on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. It's like the reality show. I'm telling you, I'm sitting here and I just refuse to shut the windows. I refuse to shut the windows. I have been inside for so long. My skin is becoming translucent. And you might actually, during the show, in addition to the garbage trucks, if I'll shut up for a minute, you may even hear a bird. Okay, there are birds out there, which reminds me, from our mirpeset. Mirpeset, that is a patio, a porch in Hebrew, mirpeset. And we are in bidud, we are in complete isolation here in our home. And yet we have a synagogue, a very vibrant synagogue downstairs. And when I'm angry, I start saying, they're not wearing enough masks. Who are these people? Why aren't they home? They're spreading the disease. But when I can recover and just take a moment and just make it between me and God, me, God, and Ronnie, although Ronnie would say that it isn't necessarily the proper order. We watch the dancing. If it's quiet enough, we can hear the prayers. We can see the interaction and hear the interaction. And we actually watch them because we know what time it is for Havdalah, the final ceremony after the Sabbath, to usher out the Sabbath. We know what time it is for morning prayers. What do I feel when I see these Jews gathering, even during these desperate times? Sometimes I have a little bit of anger. Sometimes I feel sad. But you know what? When I get past the judgment and I get past the distance, the me and themness of it all, I feel hopeful. There's something to yearn for. We know that the time, it's wrong. There's something very wrong. There's wrong about all of this Zoom learning, which is incredible. All of these Zoom conversations, which are wonderful. All of this Zoom. Last night, I'm telling you, for the last, let's see, it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Tonight's the last one. I signed up. It's a fundraiser. It's a fundraiser for a wonderful organization here in Israel called Camp Kobe Mandel. You could look it up. I think it's called the Kobe Mandel Foundation.com or Camp Kobe. Anyway, it's a comedy show. Every year I go to 2 of these comedy shows. This wonderful U.S. comic, very traditional Jewish guy named Avi Lieberman. He brings in comedians, the top American comedians from Comedy Central, I don't even know the names of these places. They appear on all of the shows. And they come to Israel and it's wonderful. So this year, because of COVID, we've had 4 nights of comedy shows on Zoom. And it's weird. It's not that funny. They're funny. They're good. But you need people. You need the vibes of the human experience. And as my husband and I are sitting and watching this show, we realize that we're fighting the urge to do what we do so often. We diss. We put down, he's not good. Oh, she's really not funny at all. Oh, she was better last year. Or what is she waiting for? There's no laughter. And yet, if you just take a minute, you realize that kindness is contagious. When I am kind about it, my husband is kind about it. And we see that these comedians who need an audience, who feed off it. It's their oxygen. They're working so hard. In most cases, they're trying too hard. It was actually a little bit painful for some of it. But you know what? Not only was it for tzedakah, to give charity to this organization, you almost were praying for them. You wanted your vibes, your hope, that for them to be funny and good. You wanted it to transcend cyberspace. And I had great admiration for these people, for these comedians who really could not even imagine who was laughing, who wasn't laughing. I thought to myself, there's a lot of anger out there and knee-jerk, and maybe we'll touch a little bit about politics today. You know how much I hate that and how little I do of that. But I did want to share one thought that we have to take away. Nobody, regardless of what side of the political aisle they sit on, no matter if we have determined they are our eternal enemy, whether they are our eternal friend, our ally, whether it's someone whose politics, religion, race, mindset, hashkafa, we say in Hebrew, their outlook is diametrically opposed to us. There is not one human being, I defy anyone to show me any human being who approaches his day and says, how creepy can I be today? How many people can I anger? Can I disappoint? How many people can I turn off? Hahefech. The opposite, my friends. Every human being that walks the face of the earth, if they give any consideration to their interaction with our planet on that day, even if it's for a nanosecond or it's for hours as they contemplate their navels, are thinking, I want to be perceived as good. I want to make an impact on the world today. I want to be attractive. I want to be interesting. I want to count. I want to matter. If we understand that we interact with one another on exactly that level, that even the person in the shuk, in the outdoor market, who's screaming and yelling and saying, don't touch, don't do, bye, he's a jerk, he's an idiot. That's not who he is. It's what he does. Who he is one of God's holy creations, only wanting to be perceived and respected on that same day. I'm thinking about this because what are we bringing out of Sukkot, this great holiday of indeed insecurity? You know, at one point we opened the windows. We have these canvas windows on our sukkah. It's very cute, our sukkah. I really should put up a picture. Maybe I'll find a way to put a picture up on my Facebook. If you want to be my Facebook friend for 7 minutes, write me a note. Okay, don't just send me a friend request, okay? Just send, I listen to the show, and you're my friend, Andrea. And I just adore everything you say. Anyway, I'll put up a picture of our sukkah. We have like a whole painting of it. We didn't do it. We bought it. It's made in China. Of the Beis Hamikdash, the holy temple, and they're bringing the sacrifices, the korbanot, to give up during the holiday of Sukkot, one of the Shalosh Regalim, the 3 pilgrimages of the year. Anyway, it's just absolutely beautiful. Anyway, it's a time of great insecurity, and our sukkah felt so safe, so wonderful, so warm, that I opened the little canvas flaps because I said, let's get this thing shaking a little bit, because it's not what it's about. We mentioned it last week. It's the going outside and not knowing where our sustenance is coming from, not knowing where our safety lies. No, the opposite. I take that back. Knowing exactly where that safety lies, like that college Psych 101 game where you fall into the arms of the stranger behind you. It's called the trust game. It's flipping back and pouring ourselves into the arms of that which we trust, our God in heaven. So what are we bringing out of our sukkahs into Simchas Torah, into the new year, onto this great unblemished canvas that's lying in front of us? Is there more to tomorrow than COVID? How much time? We still have time. It's not too late. How much time will we continue to invest in bemoaning and hand-wringing instead of building, growing, healing? That which is an incredible need of attention. What indeed is defining us? You know, so much rage and vitriol followed Yom Kippur. I read the prayers of even secular friends who made promises on Yom Kippur, who had prayers for parnasa, income, for health, for good relationships. And what did they do? They followed it by cursing. They followed it by wishing death and harm and laughing and tossing about the karma word. It's incredible. How many people understand about karma? I don't know about karma. They knew great karma on the illness of the very flawed president of the United States. My friends, words create truth. You can't spend a day in prayer and fasting and beat your chest and shout, heal me, help me, give me, and then business as usual? Do we really think that we are as important as our diss of the moment? We're raising children, we're raising grandchildren. Let's together raise them to know less and to feel, embrace, yearn to experience more of the human condition. It's okay to say less, to know less, to hold it in. Andrea Simantov. I'll see you on the other side.
The Tamar Yona Show.
Tamar? She's sassy.
She's smart.
She's funny.
But she's also a real Jewish mother.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tamar Yona. And yes, I can be all of those things. But at Israel News Talk Radio, I'm here to bring you the news stories and guests that you may not hear anywhere else. Join me live on air Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays for the most unique and bold talk radio in Israel.
The Tamar Yona Show.
Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Did you know this psalm and many others were composed by a Jewish shepherd and musician who later became a king? Would you like to know some of the inner meanings of psalms to help you connect with God and strengthen your soul? An exciting and easy-to-read book is now available which will help you do just that. Software for the Soul, Psalms for Everyone, available on Kindle, Audible, and Amazon.com. Software for the Soul.
Modesty at the beach? It isn't just about body image. It's about feeling good. Modest swimsuits, so we don't get burned by the sun.
So we won't get ogled by strangers.
So we'll feel free to express ourselves without the need to expose ourselves.
Let Marcy Modest help you to cover up what you want, how you want.
Made in Israel.
Visit marcymodest.com. That's MARSEA modest.com.
And get a 10% discount on your first purchase.
Okay, we're back. Andrea Simantov, pull up a chair on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. By the way, the chat room is open. If you are listening to this live, that means you are already in the Israel News Talk Radio website, and there's a chat room. And just drop me a note. Tell me where you're listening in from. Let's see. I think Frumpy. Yeah, Frumpy wouldn't tell me where he was listening in from. He, she, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, you don't have to really engage with me more than that. I'm very lonely. All right. Let's see. Sukkah, Shmini Atzeret. We want to get to all this. Oh my gosh, we have 2 segments left. So, okay. Here we have some nice notes here that I took that I really want to share with you. You know that Shmini Atzeret is we don't want to let it go. We realize that the gates are closing on this incredible, unprecedented opportunity. I promise you that every single one of us, whoever you are and wherever you are holding, if you are listening to this live, if you are listening to this via podcast, if you are listening to this as direct quote by your uncle Herbie, you have incredible power, the power to change the world. And it's not coming from your political opinion posted on Instagram, tweet, or Facebook. By the way, have you seen a Social Dilemma? A little creepy. All right, that was an aside. It's coming from, again, as I mentioned, this canvas that is lying before us. We have our daily canvases. This is the yearly canvas. It's beautiful. It's blank. It's fresh. You realize that the minute you take your paintbrush and you press it on the woven fabric, you are starting to create your narrative, your story, your Torah, your blueprint. You know, most of our lives, every moment of our life is replete with events that we might remember very intensely, or we might not really. Every time I get on a bus, well, in the old days when I rode a bus, when I was allowed to leave my house, when I rode a bus, I couldn't come home and report, this was bus ride 1,760 9 of my adulthood. I didn't know every time I gave some charity, every time I chose this blouse over that blouse, it didn't really mean anything. However, the moments in our lives most significant are the moments in our lives that interact, that connect us to people. Some of these moments are tragic. Some of these moments are joyous. But most of our experiences are somewhere in the middle. And that's where our choice comes in. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, gave us whatever we need to make the person that paints the canvas, narrates the canvas, blueprints the canvas, fulfilled and indeed actualized. We've got it all. It's all inside of us. The last days of Sukkot are intended to give us an insight on how to take the shine, the chen, the inner beauty of all of these holidays with us into the months and the year ahead. All of the holidays on our calendar, they all commemorate events that happened. Pesach, we know, commemorates the Exodus. Shavuos connects us to the day that the Torah was given, and each of us heard the voice of the Holy One. Rosh Hashanah brings us back to the creation of that first human being, the first one who gave meaning to creation and indeed to the world itself. Yom Kippur celebrates the fact that Hashem declared that He forgives us. Sukkot takes us into a different realm, back to the restoration of those clouds of glory that surrounded our ancestors in the desert and the Sukkot that we dwelled in for 40 years. Shmini Atzeret commemorates nothing. It's the Seinfeld of holidays. No, there's no event at its core. It doesn't sensitize us to what Hashem did or what Hashem does. No. It sensitizes us to what God is and how profound and unchanging and how non-negotiable His love for us really is. Shmini Atzeret is all about being. It's not about doing. I came across a nice story from actually Rebbetzin Tzipora Heller, where she was once in Meir Sharim. She was in Meir Sharim. It was on a Motzi Shabbos. Meir Sharim is an ultra Orthodox neighborhood in the heart of Yerushalayim. And she was there. Anyway, she actually heard the story from somebody else. I'm going to leave the name out. She heard screams. A fellow, his name was actually Nehemiah Lavi, and he heard screams, and he was in his sukkah, and he had just finished a Devar Torah. He had given a nice Torah talk, and he heard this crazy screams, and he was only speaking about 2 commandments that involve your entire being. The 2 commandments that we do completely physically. They're not cerebral. They're not emotional. It's dwelling in the sukkah, the booth, and immersing in a mikvah and a ritual bath. Those you have to do physically. You can't talk about the ritual bath. Imagine the ritual bath. You're either in it or you're not. And so whatever it was, they was serving dessert, and he heard these screams, and whatever he was, Nehemiah Lavi grabbed his gun, and he ran out into the darkness towards the shuk. That's the only relevant part of the story. Whether or not he saved someone, which he didn't matter. Whether or not he returned safely to his family, which he did, also didn't matter. The point of this was he responded to a situation that God put in his orbit, in front of him, the stone in his path. It was a situation that required courage, nobility. It required compassion. And that's what life is for. When those of us who have the great merit to be alive today, and it doesn't matter what is happening, what the numbers are, and who's running for president, and what is happening in Israeli politics, and the shutdown, and when is the business going to open, it doesn't matter. When you have to deal with stuff, we might make the kind of mistake called not doing. Did I finish my report? Did I get the stove clean? Did I read stories to my grandchildren? Did I resist the temptation to daydream when I should have been writing an article or working? Did I forget to smile at someone who's socially awkward and will forever remain socially awkward? That is what being a human being is all about, not the human doing. If we can stay in touch with the fact that our deepest, almost unaccessible inner self wants to find connection with the source of all being, our lives will have meaning. Instead of just these kaleidoscopes of pleasure, pain, anxiety, rage, friendship, jealousy, love, resentment, and indeed achievement and failure. That stuff doesn't hold together. It's the stuff of the moment. Which brings us back to the concept of karma. There's Torah. There's Torah, which is the blueprint for the world, specifically designed for the welfare, guidance, and life actualization of the Jewish people. And here is not when I say but, I say and. It is the blueprint for the world. Tells the nation, ha'olam ha'goyim, how they too are supposed to conduct themselves in our communal work, communal project of celebrating his wonder and his glory. And I got to tell you something. If any of us are happy, attach karma to the concept that someone is ill, then we are indeed sick as well. Sicker than COVID can ever make us. Are we going to connect to each other? The specialness is when we can be in the same space and not justify our rage and justify our disappointments. If we are selective with our compassion, we are broken. Only we can decide if we want to fix our judgment, splint our judgment, indeed chemo our obsessive judgment. Laugh lines, love lines, passion and delight register on our faces. My friends, so does ugly. Let's just stop that crap. Andrea Simintov, see you on the other side.
In a time where feelings have become fact, where rational thought and common sense has disappeared, one man stands above it all.
I'm Howie Sobiker, your political hitman.
Political Hitman airs every Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. North American time, 7 a.m. Israeli time, only on Israel News Talk Radio.
Are you interested in transforming your life, drawing closer to the Creator, and uncovering the deeper meanings and hidden treasures in the Hebrew Bible?
Then join me, Rav Yitzhak Michelson,
and me, William Hall,
on the Science of Kabbalah, where we are seeking to narrow the gap between what we understand of our physical and spiritual worlds So make sure to tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Israel time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on Israel News Talk Radio.
Okay, Andrea Simintov, pull up a chair. IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. If you have any notes, anything you want to know where I source some of the material, unlike many of the presidential candidates, I don't make up my own stuff. I actually have sources for it. You can write to me at Andrea@IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com, and I hope to get back to you in a timely fashion. That reminds me, we're human beings. And I said at the beginning of the show that there's not one person who begins their day thinking, how many people can I tick off today? How ugly can I appear to the whole world? It's not true. It's not true. There's not a soul. Even people with whom I have fundamental differences. And by the way, I have a laundry list of political enemies, social enemies, spiritual enemies. I do not believe that any one of them, I even believe that they may not be as evolved in their thinking as I necessarily, but I don't think that it's like those Saturday morning cartoons, the evil professor, ha 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 ha, I want to take over the world. Yeah, I don't think that really exists. It's what makes it a cartoon. And so having said that, I lost my train of thought. So first thing I wanted to tell you, two big events on a personal level this week was I had a birthday, both my Hebrew and English birthday occurred this week. And it was a little sad, a little melancholy. There was no going out to dinner, no drinking a glass of wine, because I'm also always dieting. And, it was kind of a big birthday and a lot of review, but it was nice. I'm very blessed. I'm alive. I'm with it. I have my days ahead of me. Whoever dreamed of these days? And also, this week, the second night of Chol HaMoed, the intermediate days, marked the 17th Yortzeit, the anniversary of the death of my beloved father, Shmuel ben Yehuda Tzemach. And it was a very nice kind of reflective week to review the lessons of my upbringing, the lessons of my father, the understanding that generations upon generations, we have an obligation to those who come after us. And I just wanted to share that with you, that I'm very, very blessed to have been raised in a holy environment, under the tutelage and love and in true blessings from a father who saw everything in terms of our roles for the future. Okay. We usually go smack dab into Devar Torah, our Torah section. Just one thing I did want to say to you. Apparently an American bishop, he's an evangelical leader. I know it's been discussed on this station. Bishop Glenn Plumer and his wife Pauline have packed up all of their possessions, boarded a plane. They sold their home in Detroit, Michigan, and they have moved to Israel, a suburb of Jerusalem. And I'm very happy that you like us, Bishop Plumer, and your and Mrs. Plumer, Pauline. I'm very happy that you like Israel. I'm very happy that you choose to add to the economy. I'm very happy that you, when COVID is over, you will bring tourists in. You are not invited to missionize to us. You are not invited to help us deepen our spiritual connection to a faith that is not ours, that we historically have rejected from the get-go. We are not in need of your repair. You are visitors. You come here and you behave humbly. You come here and you show respect. When you step into my living room, you do not celebrate your agenda. It is not okay. And any Jew living in Israel and thinks that it doesn't matter, these people are our friends, we want friends wherever we can get them, no. Do not bring your concept of what real Judaism is. You come here, you be humble, you behave yourself, you shut up, and you learn. Okay? And it's happening under our noses every single day. And Jews, wake up. Friendship at all cost is not the way to go. All right? All right, here. Vasot habracha. Moshe's final words. This is the Shabbos. This is the Sabbath. We have both Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeret, and the Holy Sabbath all rolled up into one. The days are waning, and we have our canvas. And Moshe's final words to the Jewish people are words of love and words of blessing. He sees for them now only goodness. This is all his eyes see. Greatness. He sees hope for our future. And Moshe, after all his chastising and a lot of punishments and a lot of reprimands, now he's deep with satisfaction. He's already warned the people of Israel about his dark visions, about their future. But now his thoughts are to our greatness, the greatness of the eternal people, to Jewish resilience, Jewish stubbornness, Jewish tenacity. Moshe now, like God, he's not going to see evil in Yaakov, Jacob, nor is he going to see crookedness in Israel. Moshe, this is what a real father does. They see their children and they see only good. Moshe, he's really the supreme realist, according to Rabbi Beryl Wine. He's still determined to impress upon us that blessings overcome curses and goodness triumphs over evil. The future is still within the grasp of all of us. And we all are imbued with a desire to succeed and improve. Not only does Moshe give a general blessing to all of Israel, something which is kind of painless, but he also gives very specific, very pointed blessings to each of the 11 of the tribes, not for Shimon. Now, there are general blessings, a one-size-fits-all kind, is sort of like a spandex kind of thing, that exist in our lives. Blessings for health, blessing for success, blessing for prosperity, national security, personal security. But there are also specific blessings addressed to circumstances, addressed to individual talents, which is why one goes to each of the tribes. The tribe of Shimon is not the tribe of Bitzalel, okay? Different ones have different abilities. Moshe speaks to these particular needs and individual qualities. No two tribes are alike, and therefore their blessings have to differ. Hint, hint, parents. No two people are alike, and no two people are entitled to the exact same blessing. Okay? Is this politically correct enough for you? Yeah, really not. Extreme wealth can be a blessing to one person, and it could be a curse to someone else. There are a lot of these blessings that have to be tailor-made to each individual, and Moshe teaches us this lesson in his final blessings to the people of Israel. Moshe sees the land of Israel. He sees it from afar. He has, because he's not permitted to enter, he has a special, a unique kind of objectivity. He envisions all of Jewish destiny until the last day. We're not told of the reaction of Moshe to this revelation of the future. There are times maybe when one feels more privileged. One feels a little happier not knowing too much about the future. The words of the rabbis that suggest that the righteous are taken away before great judgments and disasters strike the people of Israel often is true, so that they don't have to endure the pain of witnessing these events. The Torah purposely doesn't record for us, interesting, a glaring omission, the reaction of Moshe to seeing all of the whole Jewish story unfold before him on his last moments of earth. But at least he's aware that there's a happy ending. Israel is restored to its land, its security, its prosperity. That's the true blessing that he bestows upon his people. His serenity, the serenity of Moshe, his confidence that all's going to be okay. It's all the way it's supposed to be. This sustains us throughout our difficulties and trials. And believe me, brothers and sisters, we're not done. Just as Bereshis, the first Parasha of the Torah, begins again this week, the Torah marches on towards the great day of complete redemption and triumph. You know, we conclude with these blessings of Moshe to his beloved people. This is what, if we bring nothing out of this show today and we take into our Sabbath and into the Holy Chag, he loves us because we are lovable, even in our craziness. The blessings from Moshe are so detailed, so individual, so personal. All human beings are basically alike. All of us, as I've said again and again, desire health. We desire material comfort. We desire family. We desire connection. We desire community. Every one of us is talented and motivated privately and differently. And Judaism recognizes and reconciles this community and individuality, which is a basic cause of human tension and our internal angst. Moshe, what is he teaching us? We're to treasure our uniqueness as individuals and as people. God taught us that each of us is part of a universal brotherhood, fashioned from the same mold, the same creator. It all flows together, brothers and sisters. The continuing, never-ending cycle of Torah is our greatest comfort. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach from Jerusalem.
Where can you get the inside news on Israel? At Israel News Talk Radio, we're dedicated to sharing Israel's inside story with the world by providing our listeners with news on Israeli politics, current affairs, and Israeli Jewish culture. The Israel News Talk Radio homepage also provides you, the listener, with useful information at your fingertips, with scrolling news headlines, weather, currency exchange, Shabbat candlelighting times, and so much more. Our radio programming is always accessible and on demand. We operate absolutely free of charge for everyone, everywhere. If you love what we do, partner with us now by becoming an Israel News Talk Radio supporter. With your support, you'll be inscribed on our Israel News Talk Radio Wall of Fame. There's nothing like us in the world. Be part of something great. Israel News Talk Radio. Straight talk from Israel.
Howdy, this is Rita from League City, Texas, now living in Israel. And though my heart may have belonged to Texas, it now belongs to Israel and all the fantastic show hosts at Israel News Talk Radio.
Hi, this is Michael Solomon from Kiryat Arba, Israel. And why do I love listening to Israel News Talk Radio? Because I love listening to the interesting interviews they do and their news reporting that most other media sources don't cover.
Hey, this is Nicoleko from Malmö, Sweden. It gets pretty cold here in Sweden, so I love cuddling up with a warm cup of tea while I listen to Israel News Talk Radio.
Hey everybody, this is Frank Morris from Tennessee. Me and my dog Buster really love listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.